gosh, I like these two books. They were just delightful stories to read.
Well, I'm glad, and I'm going to take these back to the library, and I'm going to tell that librarian how much
thank you.
you enjoyed them.
I did, and I see you have a couple more for me there.
Well, that's right, I sure do.
For you.
One of them, this first one, is called Jack Tales by Richard Chase. And these are a bunch of folk tales collected from the Appalachian Mountains.
True stories.
Do you know where the Appalachian Mountains? No, not true stories. Folk tales.
Folk tales
Imaginary.
From the Appalachian Mountains. Where are the Appalachian Mountains?
In North Carolina, southern part of
the South.
Okay,
yes.
Okay, and you're going to really enjoy these because these are stories that have been handed down from storyteller to storyteller through the generations, and all of them are about a boy named Jack.
Very interesting stories about a boy named Jack.
Do you remember any stories about a boy named Jack?
Jack and the Beanstalk. You brought me that story once.
Oh, yes, right. Well, these are all about Jack and how he gets in with a whole bunch of giants. All kinds of giants.
Appalachian style.
Yeah, you're going to enjoy the style of reading. I'm going to read one to you called The Old Fire Dragoman. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. One time, Jack and his two brothers, Will and Tom, were all of them a-layin' around home, weren't none of them doing no good, so their daddy decided he'd set 'em to work. He had 'em a tract of land out in a wilderness of a place back up on the mountain. Told the boys they could go up there and work it. Said he'd give it to 'em. It was a right far ways from where anybody lived at. So they fixed 'em up a wagon load of rations and stuff for housekeeping and pulled out. There wasn't no house up there, so they cut poles and notched 'em up a shack. They had to go to work in a hurry to get out any crop, and they set right into clearing 'em a new ground. They decided one boy'd have to stay to the house till 12 and do the cooking. First day, Tom and Jack left Will there. Will went to fixing around and got dinner ready, went out and blowed the horn to call Tom and Jack, looked down the holler, and there came a big old giant stepping right up the mountain.
Giant.
Had him a pipe around 4 foot long, and he had a long blue beard that dragged on the ground. When Will saw the old giant was headed right for the house, he ran and got behind the door, pulled it back on him, and scrouched back against the wall, shaking like a leaf. The old giant came onto the house, reached in, and throwed the cloth back off the dishes, eat everything on the table in one bite, and sopped the plates. Snatched him a chunk of fire and lit his pipe. The smoke came a-billin' out. Then he wiped his mouth and went on back down the holler with that old pipe a-sending up smoke like a steam engine. Tom and Jack came on in directly and says, "Why in the world ain't you got us no dinner, Will?" "Law me," says Will. "If you'd have seen what I just seen, you'd have not thought about no dinner. An old fire dragoman came up here, eat every bite on the table, and sopped the plates." Tom and Jack laughed right smart at Will. Will says, "You all needn't to laugh. It'll be your turn tomorrow, Tom." So they fixed up what victuals they could, and they all went back to work on the new ground. Well, the next day it was Tom's turn, and you know, the same thing happened to Tom. That old fire dragoman came up those hills and just really scared Tom right under the bed.
Scared Will and scared Tom.
Yes.
Both of them were scared to death.
Oh, yes.
I can see why. Big man.
And then the next day it was Jack's turn.
Oh.
Jack's really smart. And when he saw that old fire dragoman coming up the hill, he decided to play it cool. So the
what'd he do?
Oh, let me tell you, the fire dragoman walked in the house. Jack was scooping up a mess of beans out of the pot. Says, "Why, hello, Daddy." "Howdy, son." "Come on in, Daddy. Get you a chair. Dinner's about ready. Just stay and eat with us." "No, I thank you. I couldn't stay." "It's on the table. Come on, sit down." "Nope, I just stopped to light my pipe." "Come on, Daddy. Let's eat." "Nope, much obliged. I got no time." Well, the old fire dragoman reached in to get him a coal of fire, got the biggest chunk in the fireplace, stuck it down in his old pipe, and started on back. Well, Jack was really smart, and he followed that old fire dragoman and found that he lived down in a big old hole in the side of the hill.
Brave boy, this Jack, isn't he?
Yes, and he got his two brothers, Tom and Will, to take a big basket and go down into the hole. Well, first it was Will's turn, and he went down and he came right back up and said he had seen a huge house down there, and it was like a whole
All
new
underground,
world,
a big-
all underground.
Oh.
Then Tom went down, and he said he had seen a house and a barn. Well, when Jack went down, he got very brave, and he went and knocked on the door of this house. And who should open it but a very beautiful young girl.
Ooh,
Well,
nice.
Jack really thought she was beautiful, but when he got eyes on her two younger sisters, he really fell in love with the youngest.
The most beautiful.
Oh, she was just gorgeous.
Well.
And right in the middle of falling in love with her, they heard the old fire dragoman coming down the hill, and they thought, uh-oh, we better get ready for a fight. So the youngest sister gave him a great big long sword to fight the dragoman with, and then she gave him a little jar of magic ointment to rub on his sores,
Ooh.
because the fire dragoman throws big balls of fire at people.
Heal him right up quick.
Oh, yes, and this would just
Ooh,
heal
good.
up the sores. So anyhow, the fire dragon man comes, and he and Jack have this huge fight. And Jack chops off his head.
Oh,
Right off.
Right off his
Well,
head.
the two girls,
Imagine that.
the three girls, pardon me, they're so happy and relieved. And Jack tells them that he's going to put them in the basket and take them up to
Home.
Home, yes. And so he puts them in the basket, and just as the last girl, the youngest pretty one that he really likes, is getting into the basket, she asks him to put a red ribbon in her hair. So he does that, and then she gives him a wishing ring and goes up. Well, when Will and Tom see this last girl, they start fighting over her,
They
and
both
they
want her.
both want her to marry them. But when she tells them that she's in love with Jack and is going to marry Jack, then they decide to get rid of Jack, and they put him down the hole.
They leave him down there.
Down the hole.
They
well,
didn't pull him up.
no.
Oh.
Then at the end, he remembers his wishing ring, and he just starts rubbing it, and he's home free.
Magic.
Yes, and they live happily ever after.
Oh, what a wonderful story.
Yes.
And there are more Jack tales to read. These adventures
so
of Jack
many more giants.
go on and on and on.
Yes.
Thank you.
Are you ready for my next story?
Oh, yes, there's another one.
Okay.
I'm here.
I got something special to go with this story. Are you
Oh,
ready?
what? Special?
One small blue bead. A turquoise bead. No larger than an apple seed.
Little turquoise blue bead.
Yes,
May I
isn't
have
that pretty?
Thank you.
Oh, there it goes.
Ooh.
Isn't that pretty? Where do you think it came from?
Where did it come from?
It comes from the Southwest, and that's where our story is from. It's an old Indian legend that's about that blue bead, that turquoise bead.
I like legends.
And
They're
this-
old, historical.
Oh, very old. This story happened hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago, way back in prehistoric times. Would you like to maybe read along on this one?
Oh, you know I'd love to read with you, Clara.
Oh, good. Oh, I'm so glad you like to read. Well, now I'm going to read the first part, and then you can come in.
Okay.
One small blue bead, a turquoise bead, no larger than an apple seed. You might not notice a thing so small. You might walk by and not see it at all, though it shines as blue as a piece of the sky and bright as the flash of an eagle's eye.
When men still lived in cliffs and caves,
And great beasts roamed the land.
there was a boy who held this bead, clutched tightly in his hand.
Now it lies forgotten in the desert sand.
How long has it been there?
Who can say? Maybe 10,000 years and one long day. For this is a wide and lonely land where hardly a footstep disturbs the sand, and very few people happen to pass a certain clump of tall, dry grass that hides this bit of blue.
But someone will find it.
Will that someone be you? There in the sand, before you stoop beside it or take it in your hand, look off into the desert sky. Watch the eagles floating high.
Listen to the wind and try to let time blow away, away, back to a dim and ancient day.
Back to a boy, naked and brown in the sun. Can't you almost see him leap?
Can't you almost see him run?
He's fast as a rabbit.
Wary as a deer.
He moves like a shadow
When danger comes near.
Yes, this is the boy who once stood there where the turquoise bead now lies.
He had no name, just call him Boy.
But he had dreams in his eyes. Go back with him, back to a night when cold rain was falling.
And in the wind there came the whine of a wolf cub calling.
Calling. A band of men sat huddled in a cave where the coals of fire glowed warm and red. Boy lay curled on a bed of leaves, but he sat up when an old man said,
This thought keeps spinning in my head. There must be caves just like our own, somewhere, and other axes made of stone, somewhere, and other men like me.
The others only laughed. What foolish talk, old man. We've been the only people since time began. There are no people anywhere but here.
Boy's mother blinked her eyes in fear.
I'm afraid, she said, to think of strangers coming near.
But Boy was filled with wonder. This new thought was a thunder in his mind.
Can there be, far from this cave, a boy like me?
A far pale star fell through the night.
And the old man watched the streak of light that flamed and died on the other side of the world.
I want to go see, he said. I want to know what's over there. I want to wander everywhere. I'll search for men in far-off places. I'll touch their hands. I'll see their faces.
Oh, what a good reader you are,
thank you. I
Caterpillar.
love to read.
Oh,
Don't you?
fantastic.
Can I have that book to read?
Well, yes, but aren't you just curious about the way it ends?
Well, yes, but that's why I asked you for the book.
Let me just give you a little bit of a clue.
Okay.
Okay, well, you know...
Not too much, though.
No, I won't give you too much, but you know, at the end of this story, this man goes searching for this boy, another person. And at the end, it's really exciting, the surprise he brings back. A really exciting story.
Thank you, Claire, for bringing me
Oh,
these
you're-
two wonderful books.
Well, you're welcome. I'm glad you like to read so much. And how about a little advice, Caterpillar?
Oh, of course, advice. You know, to read is a wonderfully imaginative, independent, creative way to learn. And what you learn, what you know, nobody can take it away from you. Did I make that perfectly clear?
Marvelous advice,
Thank you.
Caterpillar. Marvelous. And I'm so glad that we have this time to share together. This is just wonderful. I'm so glad you enjoyed it.
Love it.
Caterpillar? I wonder if you could help me find him. He's very huge and very furry, and he likes to read books. I brought some for
Claire!
Oh, Caterpillar!
How are
I've
you?
been waiting for you. I was just telling everyone that you're my friend the Caterpillar who loves to read books.
And I love to listen to you tell me these stories. And you know, I've taken care of all my business because I'm ready to listen to you all day long.
Oh, I'm so glad, and I hope you're ready to listen too, because I have some fantastic books with me today. The first one is about an animal, kind of like you, Caterpillar, who really thinks that books are important. The title of the book is Petunia by Roger Duvoisin. And Petunia is a goose who hears her farmer friend say that he who loves books and owns them is wise. And so she decides that if she carries a book under her wing and loves it very much, she will become very wise. Her neck becomes very, very long, and she does feel very wise. It was King the rooster who first noticed the change in Petunia. He said, maybe Petunia is not so silly after all. She has a book, and she looks so wise that she must be so. And the other animals began to believe in Petunia's wisdom too. They asked her for advice and opinions, and Petunia was glad to help, even when she was not asked. Petunia grew still prouder, and her neck stretched out another notch. One day, Petunia heard Clover the cow say to King the rooster, I wonder what makes your comb so red, King, as red as the barn. It's my blood, said King. It's the color of my blood. Nonsense, said Clover. I have blood too, but I'm not a red cow. Your comb has been dipped in red barn paint. That's what makes it so red. You are both silly, of course, said Petunia. King, your comb was stuck on by the farmer so he can tell you from the hens and know who lays eggs and who doesn't. Plastic comb, I'd say. And so King never again shook his proud comb in song for fear it might fall off. Poor, sad rooster. But Petunia had other things to do. At the chicken coop, Ida the hen was cackling excitedly among her chicks. Oh, Petunia, she said, my chicks and I have been for a walk in the woods, and I think I've lost some of them. The farmer says I had 9, but I can't count so very well. Please, wise Petunia, count my chicks to see if they're all here. Glad to help, said Petunia. Let's see. 3 chicks at the fountain, 3 at the feeder, 3 about your legs. Now, 3 times 3, that makes 6. 6, asked Ida. 6, is that less than 9? Oh, that's more than 9, not less, said Petunia. Lots more, my dear. More than 9? Good gracious, as if I hadn't enough worries with my own 9 chicks. And where do those other chicks come from? Oh dear, I'll never be happy again. Poor, worried Ida. Well, Petunia continues to help all of her friends in the barnyard, or at least she thinks she's helping them, until one day all of her friends are gathered out in the meadow around a very strange-looking box. Ah, wise Petunia, they shouted. We found this box in the ditch beside the road. Maybe it's food, Petunia. Please tell us what the writing on it says. Can you read what it says?
Firecrackers.
Yes. Glad to help, said Petunia. Now, let's see. Why, candies! That's what it says on that box. Yes, candies. You may eat them. Yes, of course. No sooner had Petunia given the word than 7 greedy mouths tore up the box and grabbed the candies out of it, and boom! Well, you can imagine what happened when Petunia discovered that carrying a book under your wing isn't as important as learning how to read it.
Yes.
You know, we learn how to read when we go to school, right? Right? And I have a book about a boy who goes to school, and his name is Sam. And maybe you've gotten up in the morning sometimes and felt like you should have stayed in bed. Have you ever felt that way, Catapillar?
Sometimes. Really difficult.
Really difficult. Well, that's the title of this book. It's called I Should Have Stayed in Bed by Joan Lexow. And Sam is the boy who tells this story. He gets up in the morning and everything starts wrong. He puts on his shoes, discovers they're on the wrong foot. And then when he tries to put them on the right foot, his shoes get tied in knots, so he has to go around all day wearing shoes on the wrong foot. Well, everything goes wrong. He is late meeting his friend Albert on the way to school. And then when he finally gets to school, this is what happens. The teacher wasn't there, so everybody ran around the room. "Watch me," I said. "Watch how fast I can go." I turned around and around and around, faster and faster. The second bell rang. Everybody sat down. Everybody but me. I fell down. The teacher came in. "Well, Sam," said the teacher. "I got dizzy," I said. "Oh, I see. Go see the nurse," said the teacher. So I did. Boy, was the nurse mad when she found out why I got dizzy. She told me off. She gave me a note for my teacher. The teacher told me off, too. She told me to open my reader and read. I read, Bob walked down the dark street. He was getting colder and colder. By and by, he was a snowman. Everybody laughed. "He saw a snowman," said the teacher. "Maybe you are still dizzy, Sam. Amy Lou, it is your turn." Well, Amy Lou read it right. She always does. Albert gave me a note. I opened it up. The teacher saw it. "Read the note out loud," she said. What could I do? I read it out loud. It said, "Can you read this fast? I am, I really am, I'm a nut. I am, I really am, I'm a nut." Everybody laughed. I didn't look at Albert. "You read that very well," said the teacher. "But after this, when you and Albert have something to say it to all of us. No more notes." Well, I hope you can read this one, Catapillar. Take Petunia, too.
Thank you. I should have stayed in bed in Petunia.
I wonder if you can read that to find out what happens to Sam's day.
I'll do
Maybe it'll improve. I have one more book. And you know, Sam was going to school to learn how to read, just like you go to school to learn to read, right? And we also learn about something else when we go to school, and that's math, right?
Math?
Right? Well, this book that I have is called Take a Number. And it's unusual because it's a book about math, but it's a book of poems. Poems are really fun to read when we read them out loud. And this is a book that is filled with really exciting poems about numbers. And it starts with the number 1. Now, I have a friend who I think likes to read.
Oh, I love it.
And Catapillar, maybe you could read this with me.
Thank you.
Okay, it starts out with, what is 1? Are you ready?
Mm-hmm. What is 1?
1 is a number.
The beginner.
There are none taller, straighter, thinner than numeral 1.
1 is any single thing.
A strawberry.
A diamond ring.
A book to read.
A song to sing.
A hat.
A coat.
A birth.
A death.
The inhale, exhale of a breath. Counting numbers begin with 1.
One mouse, one tiger, one cinnamon bun. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
But 1 and 1 don't make 11.
The basic order of numbers is spun by adding to each another 1.
1 is first.
1 is prime.
1 is once upon a time.
Unique is 1, unlike the rest.
North, east, south, west.
1 begins things, fresh and new.
And there's only 1 of you. What is 2?
2 is the second number.
And numeral 2 is quite often written with
A curlicue.
2 is forever.
One thing and another.
Question and answer.
Father and mother.
Twins are 2. They're born as a pair.
A pair can also be a filly and a mare, or snowflakes in cold winter weather.
For a pair is 2 things that go well together.
Apples and oranges equal 2.
So do
Your friend and you. 2 feet walking.
Chair and toy. Bread,
And butter.
girl,
And boy.
night,
And day.
rain,
And shine.
up and down.
Horse and fine.
A set of 2 holds 2 objects within it, alike or as different as lion or linnet.
2 times is twice. Duos are 2. High and low, false and true.
Lid and kettle, blade and grass. You
And you
in
in the looking glass.
Imagine a world without mathematics. Unmeasured houses, cellars and attics, crooked doorways, tilted roofs, millions of problems and no proofs.
No dimes or dollars, no clocks or meters, thermometers or high-frequency tweeters.
And absolutely no way of knowing how fast or slow a thing is going.
No rulers or scales,
No inches or feet,
no dates or numbers on house or street.
no prices or weights, no determining heights,
No hours running through days and nights.
no zero.
No birthdays.
Oh, no way to subtract.
All of the guesswork surrounding the fact.
No sizes for shoes or suit or hat.
Wouldn't it be awful to live like that?
And wouldn't it be awful if we couldn't read? Caterpillar, have you got some advice about reading?
Oh, I certainly do, because it's such fun to read, especially together and out loud. You know, I learned to read by listening. I've got 2 ears, and I've got 2 eyes for looking, but I only have 1 mouth for talking. And my advice would be that because you have 2 eyes and 2 ears, you should do twice as much listening and looking as you do talking with your 1 mouth.
Oh, marvelous advice. Don't you agree that that's fantastic
Give it
advice?
a try. Give it a try.
And I hope that you are going to read those books, Caterpillar, and I hope you'll read them too.
You know I will. These are
Good.
some of my favorite little